Hey, what's going on GameLeapers? This is Coach Eags, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the champions who got changed in 12.8 and how their win rates have been affected by the first couple of days of the patch. And these statistics are taken from every single rank, so this isn't for high elo or for low elo, this is for everyone. So it's going to give you a lot of information, and for more information on any of these champions, on how to master them, how to play them like the best players in the world, make sure you guys check out the GameLeap website, because we help people improve. We will help you achieve your Season 12 goals, because our Challenger players and coaches upload up to 20 videos a week, and these are for our thousands of subscribers, so make sure you guys get signed up as well and join the club, links down below. Now let's get into the countdown and talk about the nerf champions for 12.8, and first off we have Xayah, whose win rate has decreased by almost 3% to just 48% overall. Now 48% isn't exactly bad, but it's definitely a fall from grace, because in 12.7 she was actually one of the premier AD carries, but because her damage per blade and her Q has gone down, and also the cooldown in her Q has increased at later ranks. And if you are going lethality Xayah, this is what you're maxing first, so this is a really big hit, and these two Q nerfs are the reasons why Xayah has decreased this much in terms of win rate. You can still pick her of course, but you really have to make sure that your teammate, your support in lane is an engaged support who can set up those kills for you, but to be honest, it's probably not even worth if you do care about winning. And we're going to continue with this AD carry theme, because Jinx is another AD carry who was one of the premier picks for pretty much the last 7 patches, but in 12.8 her base HP got nerfed, and this has meant that in the early laning phase you're just more killable, because before this patch it was just way too easy for Jinx not just to do well in lane, but to win it and to scale into the hyper carry she is in the mid to late game. It was just too free. So right, nerfing the base HP by 50, this just makes her more vulnerable in the early game, which to be honest is really how it should be for a champion who is so good in the late game. So Jinx's win rate, like Xayah, because of the nerf has decreased to around 48%, still playable but definitely worse off. Now speaking about a champion who is still playable despite getting nerfed, this is Soraka, whose win rate is still sitting at close to 52% despite dropping over 1% in the last couple of days. So why is this the case? Well, for Soraka, the base heal has been nerfed at later ranks, and because you max this first, this is definitely going to impact the banana peeler. Also, the AP ratio in your W has also been nerfed by 5%. Now unless you're going full AP Soraka with a death cap, this doesn't really mean that much, but the base heal certainly does, and this is why Soraka's win rate has dropped by over 1%, but to be honest, still more than playable, so there shouldn't be really too much complaining from the Soraka main side of things. Now one of the big talking points at 12.8 is Swain, and how this new champion, because of all the changes to Swain, is going to stack up against the rest of the competition. Well, we can see here that Swain's best role at the moment is currently as an AP carry bot laner. So you can play him as a support, maybe in the mid lane, you could even take him to the top lane, because his base armor got hotfix buffed, and because his base damages went up, this means that if you're going tankier Swain, it's just more beneficial. But to be honest, lots of people are still playtesting this champion, so even though his win rates are getting dropped, lots of people are playtesting him and playing Swain for the first time. So maybe after the next week or two, we will see the real impact of the changes, and any Swain mains out there, let me know in the comment section what you think of the changes, and if he's better or worse in the role you play him in. Now the other nerf champion in 12.8, well, she wasn't really nerfed, but this is Kai'Sa, who got a nerf to her Void Seeker, so your W's AP ratio. This means that going Luden's Tempest Kai'Sa and spamming your W from across the map is no longer really the way to play her, which is healthy to be honest, because who liked playing against that? So what Riot have instead done is buff your passive, so you're dealing more damage to targets who have more HP, and your ultimate shield, which is now scaling off 100% of your AP. So builds that include Nash's 2 for lots of AP, this is seeing Kai'Sa's win rate increase by about 0.2%, so she's still not the best AD carry. You should probably pick her when you know you've got a free lane, so maybe against an Ezreal for example, so you can hit the 2 to 3 item spike that you kind of desperately need to hit in order to win a game. Now moving over to the buff champions, and we have 14 of these to talk about. So first off we have Zoe, whose Q's mana cost has gone down, and your portal jump, so your ultimate, the mana cost has also gone down, this one by 10, just like your Q. And this is nice for Zoe because it means you can use your Q more, you can use your portal jump more, but the strange thing here is that Zoe's win rate has gone down across all ranks. This is kind of weird, but to be honest, it's probably because people are just playing her more, so new players, and you really have to know how to play this champion. It's all about the priority, and it's all about saving your E against those assassins who can jump on you. So no doubt new Zoe players are getting caught out and they're dying way too much, maybe from junglers as well, but no question this champion is better, so a bit of a placebo win rate change. Now another win rate change that might be placebo is the Sejuani win rate drop. This has actually gone down by 0.25%, so it's around 50.5% overall, and it might look weird, but my guess is that just because more people are playing it, there is a bit more room for error, because these new players playing Sejuani might not understand how to play this champion, and they also might be picking her when they have 4 ranged champions who can't proc your stun. So that might be a reason as well, but this champion no doubt has improved, and these stats will probably probably show their true selves over the next week or two. But apart from Sejuani and Zoe, guys, the other 12 champions who received legit buffs in 12.8, their win rates have all improved, and we've got to start with Vladimir, whose base armor has increased, and for the mid lane, against ranged champions who auto-attack you a lot, against attack damage assassins. This has just made him better and harder to kill, so these matchups become even more annoying for the enemy champions. This is why Vlad's win rate is sitting around 51%, and he's even better in the top lane as well because of the armor buff. Because in the top lane, most champions are going to be attack damage based. This just makes you tankier and able to survive the laning phase and get to the mid to late game when you can take over. Now moving on, we have Poppy, who received, in my opinion anyway, some of the biggest buffs in 12.8, but her win rate has only improved by over 0.1%. Now her pick rate has increased by 0.5%. So what does this all mean then? Well, for Poppy, your W's cooldown decreasing, and your ultimate receiving some, well, I guess I would call them quality of life buffs. I honestly thought this would mean that Poppy's win rate would increase beyond belief, but I think the reason Poppy's win rate has kind of stayed the same is because she's still doing the same job, but not really a better job, because in fights you're probably only using your W once. That's it. It's still going to be on a long cooldown, so if a fight lasts 10 seconds, that's it, just one W. So I still think picking Poppy, it should be against team compositions with lots of dive, lots of engage, and lots of mobility. So the buffs may have looked really good on paper, and they did fool me, which isn't very hard because I'm from O's, but Poppy's win rate is still around 50%, definitely still in a solid position. Now moving on, we have to talk about Kassadin, whose Q shield is going to be bigger because of the AP ratio increase. And also for Kassadin, his E's AP ratio got increased as well, which to be honest is the big buff here because lots of Kassadin mains are going to max their E first. This does a ton of damage, and in the mid to late game, once you do start stacking AP, you will be one-shotting people from your Force Pulse alone. But just be sure guys to pick Kassadin as a counter to all the mages in the mid lane. Picking him against a Yone or a Zed or a Talon is still going to be very risky, but his win rate has improved across the board by 0.3%. Now the next mid laner is of a similar ilk, because Sylas does incredibly well into mages because he can steal their ultimate, and because of the AP ratio in his own ultimate, he will deal a ton of damage with them. So his win rate has improved by 0.4%, and speaking of his ultimate, that's because the cooldown has been reduced. So at rank 1, it's 20 seconds shorter, so 80 seconds overall. At rank 2, 55 seconds, so it's 15 seconds shorter, and at rank 3, so at level 16, it's on a 30-second cooldown. And remember, the later the game goes, the more ability haste you're going to have, so you will be getting so many ultimates off in fights, maybe even 2 ultimates off in the late game team fights, and in lower elos, this will definitely be prevalent because games tend to last longer. So Sylas is in a very nice position because of this buff. But the next champion on this countdown, Ezreal, is probably going to be happier than Sylas, and the stats do show because his win rate has improved by 0.5%, and the big reason for this is because, like Sylas, his ultimate got buffed. So the cooldown at later ranks, it's gone from 120 seconds at all ranks down to 105 at rank 2, and then 90 seconds at rank 3. This is really big for a champion whose Q decreases the true shot barrages cooldown anyway, and in the mid to late game, just like Sylas, you're going to have a ton of ability haste. So getting more true shot barrages off, this might sound incredible for AP Ezreal, if you dare to go that, but it's also really good for AD Ezreal. Now the next champion whose win rate has improved by over 0.7% to 52% overall, which is really good, this is Mordekaiser, whose passive movement speed has been buffed. And this is super useful for a champion who can get kited to oblivion. If you're against a bunch of ranged champions as Mordekaiser, there is no worse team composition to play against because landing any of your skill shots, even getting in range for your ultimate, there is just no chance that's going to happen, but you have a much better chance now. And against lots of the melee champions you're going to face in the top lane, it's useful to kite them out as well. It's almost like you'll be playing as an AP spellcaster, staying at range and keeping them at arm's length. You can also chase them down now, and it might even mean you don't have to build a Rylai's Crystal Scepter, you can build a more useful item. So Mordekaiser is definitely stronger in 12.8, but one champion who's even stronger than him, this is Tristana because of the AD per level buff, and her win rate has improved by almost 1% as a result. And Tristana, because her scaling is so insane anyway, to get even more of it, this makes her honestly the scariest AD carry to play against in 12.8 at the moment. So to have a 51.5% win rate and very few weaknesses, like you win a lot of bot lanes and counter a lot of those immobile AD carries, she's a great pick, so watch out for her in 12.8. Now moving on, we have Fiddlesticks, who like Tristana, his win rate has improved by almost 1%, and that's because the W buff, so your Bountiful Harvest, is now healing you for more against enemy champions. So when you land your big ultimate and you press your W, you'll be healing for more. You'll be dying less and dealing more damage because you won't be dying as quick in those team fights. So this is important. Even in those early game skirmishes, it's going to mean something because the base heal percentage against champions, this has increased. So a nice little buff for Fiddlesticks, and this has seen his win rate improve to around 50.5% across the board. Now moving on to another AP champion, we have Vel'Koz. And for Vel'Koz getting more damage, I didn't really think he needed this because, well, you deal so much damage anyway, but Riot decided to increase your Q and W's AP ratios. So this means when you land one of them, you'll be dealing more damage, of course. So whether you're playing Vel'Koz in the mid lane or as a support, support, you're hitting harder, you'll be clearing waves quicker, and you'll just be getting more kills on the Rift. And this has kind of surprisingly seen his win rate improve by over 1%. So watch out for War of the Worlds in 12.8. Now moving on to the top 3 champions whose win rates have improved the most in 12.8. The first of these is Jhin, whose win rate is now close to 52%, one of the highest out of all the AD carries, and that's because the root duration in your W, this is improved, and the recharge rate of your E, this is also down and faster. So the big buff here is really to the root duration in your W, especially if you have a CC support next to you like a Leona or a Nautilus. You'll be locking the enemy champion down, and it's really useful in team fighting situations because you'll have more champions to capitalize on the CC. So Jhin, because of these buffs and the W buff in particular, has risen back to the top of the AD carry pile. And for the next 2 champions, guys, we're staying in the bot lane, and the first of these is Xerath as a support. So for Xerath, the fact your stun is going to last longer from your E, and this is so valuable for a champion where most of the time you're probably going to be using your shocking orb in those close range situations. So the enemy support jumps on your head, the enemy jungler's ganking, you throw your E out, and even if it's really short range, they're going to be stunned for a little bit longer, allowing you and your AD carry to escape. Also at max range, this is increased, meaning the enemy champion will be locked down longer, so you can land more ultimates. Your teammates can capitalize for a little bit longer as well. So these buffs have seen Xerath's win rate improve by 1.3% to 52.5% overall. For the champion who has benefited most from the 12.8 buffs, this has been Bard. And because your passive's damage in your Meep, this has increased, and your W's base max heal has also increased, so when your W actually activates after that period of time, it's going to heal the champion who walks over it for more. This is the reason why Bards are now maxing their W second instead of their E, and this has seen Bard's win rate improve by over 1.3% to around 50% overall. But if you can play this champion, especially the Bards and high reloads, because they have such a good knowledge of the champion, his win rates are a lot higher. So it might require a bit of time to learn him, but you can see his pick rate has also improved by over 1%. So his actual overall win rate, to be honest, is probably a lot higher than this by the people who can actually play this champion. But those guys were the 19 champions affected by the 12.8 changes. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you did enjoy it, please remember to let us know by leaving a like down below. And until tomorrow's daily season 12 upload, this has been Coach Iggs. Peace.